What's going on out there? He just talks in this very flat monotone, doesn't get the driver excited. Luke Eildon now will jump in for probably the most important racing stint of his life so far. He has really got to get his head down in this battle with Murphy and all those fast cars around him.
Okay, guys, just tape it the best you can.
Let's go to the pits.
Yeah, the team here, actually, the car's already been taked up quite a fair bit in the front, as you can see. Stephen was a little slow to get out of the car. He couldn't get his belts undone, but other than that, everything's gone to plan. Fuel still going in the car. No adjustment to the rear of that car this time around. Pretty good stuff.
Watch your speed, mate, watch your speed.
30-second stop.
Pump your brakes, want to see your bumps. Brakes pumping, thank you.
Probably a few seconds shy
Reset fuel.
of where they'd want to
Reset fuel,
be.
Lukey, reset fuel.
Still getting in. Fraction over 30 seconds keeps them in the game.
There's plenty to do, isn't there, when you jump in, fast yourself in. You've got additional cable ties on the belt so you can grab the loops in the hurry that you find yourself in and just give the belts a yank, pump the pedal, get the pressure back up. We saw at Sandown quite graphically 3 or 4 drivers going off. The most notable was Russell Ingall when the pads didn't get a pump up. Radisic out, Rydell in, and sometimes when you get in, you also find yourself in an uncomfortable position. How shall I describe this? With the crutch strap, just in the way that you have to leap into the car sometimes. You don't have time to fuss around like you do on a private test day. You just got to leap in and buckle up, and sometimes it'll take laps, and there are other times where you don't even get settled for the entire 30-odd lap stint, where you're just uncomfortable with the way the belts are grabbing you. It's bad luck. You just got to get on with it, and I can tell you there are some occasions where that can be quite uncomfortable if you get adrift.
Know where you're coming from, brother. 9.1 seconds. Here comes the Pertec Ford peeling off now. All these guys are on schedule for their next fuel load. There'll be one more to come after this one. And it's just going to come down to such a battle of car speed toward the end of this race. The strategies are working out the same. It's going to be one on pure speed.
Talk about car speed with Greg Murphy as he ticks over on his 100th lap. Just put down a 2:09.97.
These guys are right up the end of the pit lane this year. First time they've been that far west in the pit lane. Normally they're right down the other end. And Darrell's down there on the spot.
Yes, the team comes in. Cromley, the taxi car's got a little dent in the front bonnet here, nothing major, so there's been a bit of a tap at some time in that last stint as Winterbottom gets out, Noski gets in. Everything pretty good. Good stop.
Excellent stint for Mark Winterbottom.
Optimax fuel still going in that tank. That's the longest part of the stop.
Big scar on the right-hand side there, Darrell, from where he hit the fence earlier in the day.
It's got to be said, both drivers here, Mark Rossi
Just settle into it.
and Mark Winterbottom, have done a terrific job.
And to steer around the Track car now, Andrew Jones getting in, John
Get the
Cleland
fuel
getting
use,
out.
Mark.
Plenty of activity in pit lane. This is coming up to this important pit window for fuel.
The reason that the Stone Brothers went that far up the pit lane is it's flatter up there. This area of the pit lane's got a slope on it, it slopes backwards, and there's less congestion for the pit in and pit out because there's so many teams up this end, nose to tail. And it's very critical sometimes if you can save half a second or a second in terms of your in-out time up the other end of the pit lane.
You've got to think about all those things, don't you? Planning for this race.
Well, Greg Murphy remains in control. The man who set this place alight yesterday with a blistering pole lap continues to take the Kmart Commodore out on some hot laps. We've got some strong winds blowing in, some nasty looking clouds. Will it make an impact on the weather?
And this is what you have to do. SMS the word play, 1881075 for Australian viewers only. And so far on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, that is the number of Ford and Holden fans who've dialed in. This is a critical moment as the race leader is in the pits.
A driver change for Greg Murphy and pad stop as well. Murphy out. Rick Kelly in.
Just saw that Stone Brothers Ford in there. Apparently that's the Winterbottom car, car 9.
Incidentally, both Ingall and Scaife have just done their fastest laps on lap 100.
Can you hear me?
Rusty.
Looks like being a good stop, guys. Very tricky working conditions when they do those brake pad changes. You can hear Rob Crawford talking to Rick Kelly there. I mean, the pads themselves get up around 800 degrees, the main disc about 700, and the caliper about 210 degrees. So a very difficult working environment for the engineers during a stop like that.
That was very, very slick work too. Kmart team.
in at lap 101. They've done 36 laps on that most recent load of fuel, keeping in mind there was a safety car intervention between lap 65 and 68. They have got reasonable fuel economy. Seems as though they're getting, I would suggest, at least 33 green laps out of a...
Yep.
Green laps meaning full tilt laps out of 120 litres of fuel, which means that they should be able to stay in sequence and find themselves in a good position at the end of the race, but it'll be marginal. They can't afford to burn up too much. Daryl?
Okay.
Daryl, you
Mark,
there?
you've had a pretty good run so far today. What did the car come in again?
Looked like we just filled it up with water, but the car was running smooth and had some good speed. So, yeah, it's a bit annoying that happened, but we'll soldier on, and it's a long way. It's just over halfway, so really I've learnt that this is a long race, and we'll keep going.
Were the temperatures and everything okay while you were in the car, though?
Yeah, they were. I didn't get a warning light or anything, so it's a bit weird, but as soon as he went back out, he got a warning light, so I'm not sure what happened, but hopefully it's all right. We'll get to the end.
All the best for the rest of the day.
Thanks, Darren. Cheers.
Brad Jones takes the position on the track at the exit of Forest Elbow, and Neil mentioned that Scaife had done his fastest lap on lap 100. That's the fastest lap of the race at 2:09 at 1:07.
And further lowers the lap record here to that 9.1. So
Mark, you have to bring it back in, mate. Bring it.
you can't log a lap record in anything other than the race in Australian motorsport, so qualifying
I think the
records
engine's
don't
fucked.
count.
That's
Back it right off.
Campbell Little. He's talking to Mark Noske at the wheel of car 9, and I think the message was the engine has had it. You're going to have to bring it back in. And there's been wisps of smoke coming from that car. Look at this, trailing it all the way into pit lane. This could be terminal for car 9.
It had a whack in the front, so I wonder if that impacted any airflow or did any radiator damage. Or whether
Straight through, turn left at the end, you know where the...
Straight through and turn left at the end. They're putting it behind the wall. So she's over for the second of the Stone Brothers Fords. Well, running as high as third in that battle. Superb job by Winterbottom and Noske. That engine failure is going to put them out of the race.
We're heading down to payday here, aren't we? It gets interesting from here on, and this is where I reckon the race gets juicy up here.
Well, this is where it's won and lost, isn't it? This is the real grind. You get past lap 100, and that's when the real cream starts to rise to the surface.
The field thins out, and typically there are fewer incidents later in the day. Greg?
Well, John Cleland, as far as stints go, that was a tough one. Tell us why.
Yeah, when I got in the car, the throttle had been sticking with Andrew, and a couple of turns it would stick on. Turn 1, turn 2, and occasionally down at the last turn here, it just stick wide open. And as I was coming out of the cutting at one point, just over the bump, the throttle stuck completely and spun me around. But we only grazed the wall, so a little bit of polish, it'll be fine.
It just seems as though it's something that you're going to have to persist with for the rest of the day. The team didn't seem as though they were addressing it.
No, I talked to them on the radio and said that if it's going to take too long to cure, it could really be anything. It could be one of the springs broken, and to take all the top off and start to delve inside there, we could lose a lap. What we'll have to do, mind you, we could lose a body shell if the thing sticks open at one of the worst corners. So we just have to be careful. We've told Andrew that. He's just going to have to come off the throttle a wee bit earlier.
Oh, you look like you're earning your coin today.
Yeah, I know, whatever Kim Jones is paying me, it's not enough.
And he must have scratched his nose when he hit the wall up there in the cutting. There's a Band-Aid on there.
Running out of Band-Aids at Aussie Mail.
Fitness device, they call it.
Mark Scaife is our race leader. Russell Ingall is second position on the track. Craig Lowndes is third, and Scaife has just lowered the lap record even more at 2:09.09.
Wow. That's fast pace for lap 104 of 161.
And he needs to do one of those shoey type stints and make ground here, because it's the 51 car that's got great pace.
Probably 2 more laps, mate.
And they're all a bit out of sequence. So he knows that he's got to try and make a net gain on that car.
Now this is our PlayStation 2 race score. Remember, just as Neil said, there's a few guys out of sequence, in particular Greg Murphy and Rick Kelly's car number 51 entry won't appear on this leaderboard, but on corrected times via our PitSmart technology, we can tell you that Murphy and Kelly would have the race lead. The Bob J T-Marts 1000 is coming down the crunch.
The number 1 Holden Racing Team Commodore comes into the pits. Mark Scaife hands over to Todd Kelly. Fuels in, wheels on. And that will leave Craig Lowndes in the race lead as the toddler makes his way out. And I say that because into the pits now is Russell Ingall handing over to Marcus Ambrose. Your race duration on the top left-hand corner of your screen. We're 106 laps down of 161, and rain is southeast of here, about 40 kilometres away, and being pushed along by a 6-knot breeze. I can tell you, anything is possible.
Interesting looking at those last fuel takes for both the Holden Racing Team Commodores. They both did 30 laps.
The brake, Marcus, pump the brake.
In that last stint. Both pitted on lap 76, both pitted on lap 106.
Pump the brake, mate. Keep pumping it. Use your left foot. Pump, pump, pump.
Don't want a repeat of the nasty Russell Ingall incident at Sandown, where he didn't have the brake pedal pumped up enough.
So yeah, have you reset the fuel, Marcus? Just make sure that bias is right and the bars are okay.
That preceding car 34 has just lowered the lap record. Garth Tander 8.6. He's out of the race in terms of real position, but boy, he's flying.
2:08.67 on his 90th lap.
What a shame.
Yeah.
They lost all that time in the pits early on because that car was flying, and there's the speed this late in the race. Set a new lap record in the 8s.
If there'll be a bit of a period here where there's some warmth in the road, but the sun goes behind the cloud, and if you're on a low fuel load, you'll see some pretty sexy numbers. So I suspect it might even shuffle further down again.
Cameron McConville is doing something of a Garth Tander and rejoining the race. Teamed up with Tim Lay. Well and truly out of the loop, and as Grant said to him, time to go out and have a bit of fun around the mountain.
That's Tim in the car.
And here's 66, the Dean Canto Matthew White entry for Team Better Electrical. These guys making their 4th stop, so this will be a driver change. Canto's in there at the moment.
Lowndes is due in any tick of the clock as well.
Pretty good play, and there is a black cloud coming over the top of the mountain.
Live weather from Craig Lowndes.
That's interesting. Holden Racing Team fuel mileage, 30 laps. Green conditions.
Oil going into that car.
Rusty.
Well, guys, just having a little bit of a think about this. During that Kmart pit stop before, you may have noticed that they changed the front brake pads, and that may have bamboozled some of us. They have definitely, I've confirmed it, definitely changed front brake pads twice in that car. Now, that may suggest a different type of pad material in that car, perhaps one that has a little bit more bite but would wear a little faster. And I went to Rob Crawford with that suggestion. All I got in return was a nice wide smile between underneath all that fireproof gear.
Yeah, well, obviously...
Surge there, surge, surge, surge. Surge coming out of the road.
He needs to get the reserve on if it's got one, which I think he's now done.
Don't worry. Come in. Absolutely come in, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, do I come in? I would have thought so.
This is Craig Lowndes, who is leading the race at the moment.
Out of the chase now.
I'm corrected. We reckon that he's in a real position at the moment. He's 5th. And we're hearing that there could be some issues with car 51 as well. They're talking about... Look at the way CL just shortcuts that chicane. They're talking about recycling pumps and switching things on and off in the 51 car for Rick Kelly. We might see if we can get to the bottom of that.
They're not sure what the problem is at the moment. But Rick Kelly's been given the instructions. Switch them on, switch them off. Now, Lowndes out of the car, Seaton back in. Greg Rust.
Interesting here, Matty, that Glenn Seaton has opted back for the open face helmet for this stint. We've been used to him this season in the full face helmet, but for most of Glenn's career, he's run the open face. With that for this stint, quick stop here from FPR, just fuel and tyres and a driver change. and see how much longer before car 6 ventures out. Boy, they ran it right to the bone, didn't they?
Sure did.
Back to basics for Cito. He told us earlier that he'd be going back to the open face helmet because fatigue's starting to build in. It's getting hot and cluttered in there. He's not coping with it.
Do you see how psyched he was when he got in? His eyes were wide open. He's ready for battle. You tend to leap in there and you expect that it's all going to happen in 10 seconds, and it's almost a relief that, oh yeah, there's fuel to go in and there's wheels and tyres to go on. Then you settle down and double check your belts and make sure everything's switched the right way, switch the reserve off, put the mains back on.
Well, the message we're hearing to Rick Kelly in car 51 is to switch the oil pumps off. And we're not quite sure why he's been given that instruction. Maybe a drama in car 51 will follow that.
Or it may be that it just doesn't require them on at the moment. Incidentally, as we build up towards the Lexmark 300 in the Gold Coast in a couple of weeks, they're racing in Mexico this weekend in the Kart World Series, and if you're following that series, Paul Tracy has pole position. He's leading the championship. From Tiago Montero, his best qualifying performance of the year, and Bruno Jonquera is third.
Things are still shaking down on the leaderboard, but Rick Kelly is in position number 3 on the road. On our corrected time, we've got him in slot number 1. Oil pumps off. The Kmart racer.
He's done a fantastic job today. Rick Kelly really has shown a great turn of speed and great maturity. Very difficult circumstances, really come of age today, put in a maximum pressure situation. And he really has come through in flying colours. Here's the Aussie male Ford car 21. All its problems with the throttle. Looks like they may have cured that throttle drama. Man, these wheels.
It takes a while to rattle them off,
doesn't it, sometimes?
Particularly if the bottles are down slightly on pressure.
John Bowe gets in. There's your race conditions. So you can see the ambient has dropped 18 degrees. Track temperature now under 30. Fuel going in. And, oh, he stalled it.
Time and time again it happens. This race up and down pit lane.
It's so hard because, you see, unlike the days when you didn't have the pit lane speed limit, you could use any amount of throttle to get out. You can't use that now, Matty, so when you go for a bit more throttle percentage, often it will just cough and die with the tall diff and the big fuel load.
One more.
At the monitor here, sorry, Marco, and car 6 has posted its fastest time on lap 107 at 2:09.12.
Pump your brake pedal, Warren. Pump your brake pedal.
Had a drama.
Green button for 2 seconds, please. Reset your brake balance and reset your bars. Over.
That's Lee Geyer, Chief Engineer for car 17. And they're still trying to keep this car going after that electrical drama put them out of contention. Great shame because the Shell 17 car was a real hard hitter this weekend.
Find out what's happening at Kmart, car number 51. Rusty, can you enlighten us?
Well, I can, Matty. The team don't seem too worried at this stage. The explanation I've been given is that they were just telling him to pump some of the oil from the catch tank back into the main tank. With some of the high G loadings they get around this circuit, invariably you get a bit of spillover from the main tank into the catch tank, just to make sure that there's enough main oil circulating through this car. They've just got him to pop the excess back into the main tank.
Rusty, while you're there, you might want to ask him why the lights are flashing on and off on the car too. Just noticed, picked up that they're flashing on and off as Rick drives around.
You know Morse code, you blokes?
Yeah, sometimes they use them as signals, other times they use them to let the guy in front of them know that they're applying maximum pressure, but there's nobody in front or behind of young Rick Kelly at the moment. Are there some dramas starting to appear in car 51? Who knows? We always talk about buying a ticket to the end of this race. Well, that ticket needs to be purchased about now. This is it on...
This is fifth, playing fourth in the Bob Jane T-Marts 1000. Marcus Ambrose having a crack at Glenn Seaton. Down Conrod straight into the chase here. Under brakes, Ambrose looking to pull off a move. Cannot squeeze up the inside, but the opportunities will come, as that is clearly a faster BA Falcon at the moment. Up front we have Kelly versus Kelly. Rick partnering Greg Murphy today, and Todd in second place partnering Mark Scaife, and they have a 13-second buffer on Luke Youlden. Then we have this battle between Seaton and Ambrose, and it's very much a family affair this year, because earlier in the race, you might recall, we had Richards and Richards up front.
Seaton's under the pump a bit here in that last couple of laps. They were 2.12s between Seaton and Ambrose as they dogfighted each other. Now he pulls away and gets a bit of a breather away from car number 4. Here is car 51, Rick Kelly. And I'm pretty sure we've got Greg Murphy on the line down in the garage.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Greg, we're just trying to work out if there's any problems technically or anything like that with car 51. Or is he just flashing his lights to let us know he's having a good time?
No, it's actually just something wrong with the switch, the light switch on the steering wheel. I noticed it when I was out there, that the little diode kept flashing on and off, so it's obviously a switch problem there somewhere, but there's no mechanical, no electrical problem. It just is helping itself to turn itself on whenever it wants.
And Murph, we heard a radio message to Rick, something about switching off some pumps. What's the story there?
Oh, it's just the oil overflow into the catch tank. We just pump it back into the oil tank, basically, so that's all it does. So when it spits a bit out into the catch tank, we just it's been every 50 odd laps, we just turn it on for a lap just to pump it back into the main tank.
Well, I've got to hand it to you, blokes. The speed of this car 51, is an absolute rocket ship, and it doesn't seem to be changing no matter what the track conditions or weather conditions throw at it.
Oh, I hope not, mate. We've still, 50 odd laps to go, so let's just hope that it maintains that beautiful running that it's doing at the moment. And Rick's doing a fantastic job out there, and the two Kelly boys, 1 and 2, I'm looking at the timesheet there, and Todd's putting a bit of pressure on at the moment, trying to catch up, so we'll have to get Rick's to throw in a few flyers.
He's just done a 10 flat, Murph, and Todd's done a 9.6. He's not far from your best time, which was a 9.7. You'll have to get a hurry on when you get back out there, mate.
No, it's all right. He can go faster than he likes.
You're comfortable with the strategy, state of play, Murph? You guys running a more traditional strategy, I guess, against the guys like Scaife and Todd Kelly, who came in on 13 and 17, but that safety car would have helped you?
Yeah, listen, I think it's probably actually going to turn out that the last pit stop, but for all the cars, is going to be pretty close. I think what they did early on with the safety cars that have been out there, that'll probably change, and you'll find that their last stop's pretty close to our one. So already I think it's within sort of 3 or 4 laps. So they've come to us because of the safety cars.
We're calculating your next stop, Greg, at lap 136, which only gives you a relatively short window then to 161 of about 25 laps.
That's nice. I don't have to spend all afternoon in the car then, do I?
You can go out
Thanks.
there.
Well done, boys. Thanks for letting me know that.
Anytime, check in. We can guide you through the race later on if you want. Thanks, mate.
Okay.
Enjoy that last stint.
Cheers.
Well, Rick Kelly, for a bloke who's only just 20 years of age, he's driving with great maturity here. He was a Formula Ford rookie back in 2000. He missed out on the title by 1 point to Luke Youlden, the man who's chasing him in third place. It goes to show what a great development the Formula Ford category is.
He's just all alone out there at the moment, isn't he, Rick Kelly? He's 12.9 seconds ahead of Todd Kelly. So there's a long way in between first and second, but there's also no back markers to get in his way.
Youlden's picked his pace up substantially in this stint. He didn't really get the hammer down as comfortable as he would have wanted to in that opening stint, and Wally Walburn was on the phone just giving him a zing along here and there, but in this stint he has responded. Very often the second stint for drivers up here is far more comfortable. You're knuckled down, you're not affected by the pre-race nerves. Sometimes you don't know what to expect when you've not done a lot of running up here with these cars, when they're fat and heavy with fuel and they lack tyre grip after a few laps. Once you understand the rhythm and how much more you can get out of yourself and your car around here, particularly with across the top of the mountain flow, the second stints are just so enjoyable.
Best seat in the house is going to be in pit lane in around about 20 laps. It's just going to be diabolical down there as the nerves start to build, because that'll be the final shot. And then it's just a blast to the end.
Car 66 mixed in amongst this bunch here. That's the Dean Canto Matthew White better electrical car. On to 888 Racing Australia's ownership of the sale from John Briggs. And there's an attack here under brakes by the Aussie mail car. So this is a battle between White and Bauer for 7th spot.
You generally sweat less in your second stint as well. Probably because you've already had one exposure to the car, and I think it's very much a mind over matter situation in the second stint. You look at the drivers often when they get out of the car the second time round, and they'll nearly always tell you, well, I could have done another back-to-back stint, no problem at all, get back in, no drama. Ask a few of them after the first stint and they're really happy to be hoisted out of it.
Great drive too from Marcus Marshall. He's sharing car 16 with Ritter, and he's driving in the Carrera Cup this year, but he's doing a great job here in the V8 Supercar.
The comparison at the front of the field between Rick and Todd. Remember Rick, the younger brother of Todd, over those last 4 laps. And it looks as though Todd's been eating into the times of his brother ahead in car 51. But the gap is still 13.0 seconds between car 51 and car 1. The battle group that we're looking at right now is 16. Marcus Marshall, 21 is John Bowe, 66 is Matthew White, and car number 2 is Tony Longhurst. So Bowe got the position off White. He's in 7th.
Just joined by a rubber band, aren't they? Very, very close. Just a little lock brake there on the inside left as Marshall muscles the nose of the car into the apex of the elbow. Down Conrod Straight once again. So this is a strong performance from the Team Brock Commodore. The other car went out early. Crash on the mountain with Paul Wheel.
Just overheard a radio conversation with Greg Murphy coaching Rick Kelly, saying, can you just run a bit closer to the apex in the dippy? It looks to me as though you're a little bit wide. So no matter how relaxed he may look to us, Murph wants this thing to be hustled along.
JB gives Marcus Marshall a little hustle along as well, a little bit of a tap. Enough to upset car 16 under Murray's corner. He'll get him.
Beautiful move by Bowe, and Marcus Marshall shows maturity there, gives him racing room.
I'm a little bit surprised why the number 2 car's where it is at the moment, and I don't really have an answer for it because they seem to have... Oh, that's ugly.
And that now slow exit speed from that corner. Matthew White is vulnerable to car 2. Tony Longhurst ranges alongside as they head up Conrod Mountain Straight, I should say. Who's going to give in? Matthew White's well positioned on the inside. He will hold that position as they come up through Conica Corner.
One of a couple, few drivers who doubled up here in the Conica race. Warren Luff was another. And, of course, the Carrera Cup as well. Marcus Marshall's been campaigning throughout that. And here's car 2 with Tony Longhurst on board. He is in position at number 9. Former winner at the mountain. The question is, who will join the great names? Is Rick Kelly headed towards his first title at the age of 20? Can Greg Murphy do it again? They've been the guys to beat all weekend. And right now, they've got the strategy in place and the car speed in place on the mountain. And Billy, you don't reckon that the Kelly brothers are having a great family scrap across the mountain? The gap now is 10.5 seconds, and as Todd has been progressively putting down good times, Rick has just answered back with a 2:09.54.
Versus Todd at 2:09.8. Both Rick Kelly and Luke Youlden, who's 3rd at the moment, are being coached by their respective elders. So Greg Murphy's been on the phone to Rick saying, come on, sneak it along. And Luke Youlden's got Wally Walburn pushing him as well, saying we've got to give Steve Ellery every opportunity to be in a position at the end of this race to strike.
It's amazing, we see this quite often in the 1,000k race at the mountain. Early hours of the race, a lot of cars crash, get weeded out, go out, and then you have a long, long period of flat-out green flag racing. And the pressure is on here. These are lap after lap of qualifying speed driving.
Well, the most amazing thing is that we're heading up to our 5th hour of racing, 119 laps, not a sign of rain.
On this lap in the 2nd sector, both Kellys have recorded all but the same lap time. They're 7/10,000ths of a second apart. It's not a lot.
It's just incredible, isn't it?
Well, that's the gap, 10.4 seconds between them.
Big brother.
Big brother comes through the chase already. Younger brother is around the VIP Pet Foods corner, which is turn 17. And speaking of 17, Stephen Johnson has certainly had one of those days. He's with Grant Kenny.
Steve, you were having quite a good run there and it all just stopped.
Mate, literally, yeah. Just stopped like the ignition switch had failed or it turned itself off, so we don't know what happened. Got out of the car and checked all the plugs, checked all the ignition wires, all the coil wires, all the ECU wires, and then got back in the car and flicked the switches about 1 million times and just started to fire and pop after a while, so I did it all again and then it fired. So I don't know, it's either a faulty switch of some sort.
No problem since then?
No, mate, the thing was going really good. I mean, we were able to punch out a few 9.4s and it was really going well. So it's the first car I've driven that actually gets faster when the fuel load lightens.
Perhaps you should have just got out and given it a good kick. Good luck for the rest of the day.
Thanks, mate.
Oh, no, look at this. Car 4.
Under control.
Ambrose Ingle car.
Fuel again, Marcus. It'll be full of fuel.
They've got a problem with the tyre. Marcus is talking about it delaminating, and he's asking for a roll centre change as well.
Wow, coming in under green flag conditions. This isn't what you want. You dump a ton of time doing this. Darrell's on the spot.
Yeah, guys, I've watched them come in here. There's actually the right front tyre there. There's a shot of it. It's actually really delaminated a lot, Neil, and the same with the left front as well. But there was talk initially here that some of the tyres that have been roaded earlier on, say this morning when temperatures were lower, and they'd only done 1 or 2 laps, and Dunlop guys felt maybe that would be something to do with it, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Effectively, that's these blokes out of the game, isn't it?
It's going to hurt. Unless it's a safety car, they've dropped a ton of time here.
Pretty significant moment, but still in terms of championship, because of the way the points are staggered, it's not going to hurt too much, but
they wanted to win this.
They wanted to win this, and I think a lot of people thought they were going to come into this race with enough pace to do it, but they just don't have the setup, and to sustain this leading pace is hurting the tyres too much. They've had to come in and grab another one, and they've had to make another chassis adjustment to try and not knock these things around any more than they currently are. Look at that. Just ripping the tread off that casing.
Nasty stuff, and a very telling moment for Stone Brothers Racing. Number 4, Marcus Ambrose, in pit lane, under green conditions.
Well, they'll be praying for a safety car, and I reckon the Super Cheap Autos team would too. Look at that last lap. 2:09.6 for Rick Kelly, race leader. A 9.4 for Todd Kelly, and 11 for Luke Youlden. The gap now 15.9 seconds between car 1.
Whee! Car 44 is now a 3-wheel affair. The rear left going down Conrod Straight.
So much expectation built around this car coming into this race. It's been a disaster.
How scary is that?
Absolute disaster.
That's coming down into the chase.
That's how you go from hero to zero in the space of a month. Car 2 sneaks up in car 16, so that's Longhurst in front of Marshall. That puts him up to 6th spot. Luke Youlden, 15.9 seconds now behind Todd Kelly. They're trying to crack the whip. They're trying to get more speed out of the youngster, but they're slipping away from him. And everyone here, as we approach this final fuel fill, will be praying for a safety car. But it's been a long, long run on green. Last safety car was lap 79, but now on lap 120. It's been a massive run. So pressure's on here. 127.86 at the second split for Rick Kelly, a 27.6 for Todd. Youlden hasn't got there yet, but every second counts here. 128.3, so he's continuing to lose time to those 2 Commodores in front. Seaton's another 13.5 seconds behind the Super Cheap Autos car.
We're about to tick over into our 5th hour completed of race time. And here comes 44. I don't know how he's piloting that through just on 3 wheels. Well, he's managed to come in, get another one, and come back in again. Grant Kenny, Jason, what happened there? It was a scary moment.
Yeah, it certainly was for Willsey. It looks like we got a puncher, and then unfortunately the wheels work loose and come off, and certainly not the place you want to do down Conrod, but it's been a tough day for Team Dynamic.
It's been a tough weekend, really, hasn't it?
It certainly has, yeah. We had a bit of a few problems with power steering and qualifying, but the Wheeled Industries car, I mean, it goes well. Just we've had so many little problems. We got T-boned in the early stages of the race by David Bernard with no brakes, and you know, it's hard to come back from 16 laps down.
The new car, to come with a new car was a big decision after your performance at Sandown. What are your thoughts on that now?
Look, it was a big decision, but as we've pointed out to many people before, we're a team who want to win, and we thought the new car would give us the difference between the old car and the new car to win, and unfortunately it hasn't happened this way.
All right, Jason, thanks for that.
Thanks, Grant.
Ross, can you shed any light on the problems that's been happening with the front tyres?
Oh, I think that one that we've just had a problem there was a flat spot. There's no doubt about that. We've had a couple of little nicks, but that's mainly from going over curbs and stuff. But I think that was just one of those things that happen sometimes.
What about as far as the car goes now for the rest of the race with fuel?
Well, the problem is we're a couple of laps short of doing it without another stop. So we really need a pace car or something.
All the best.
Okay, thanks, Darren.
Ross Stone. And we can take a look at some action here of car number 18. That's David Brabham in the Shell Helix Ford, slowing right down at the S's. And behind him, there goes Thomas Mazera.
This could be the safety car they want.
Well, if Thomas gets going, he's got it fired up. Is he going to get out of this on his own steam?
Yeah, don't want to be doing a two-point turn there.
Look at that steep
like an American cop show there. Oh, it was car 51 too, race leader. Next car to arrive on the scene, so Thomas got out of the way just in the nick of time.
See, he's gone out onto that same gravel that got carted forward onto the track earlier in the day, so can you believe that? So it looks as though it may have just been a flat spot from some aggressive braking somewhere from Marcus that has damaged the inside edge of that front tyre.
He's now down in 11th position. We can go down to pit lane.
Well, Matty, in fact, I've wandered out the back of pit lane into the paddock, right into the Holden Racing Team garage. You can see a little bit of blow drying going on here, trying to get some of the sweat and things out of the gloves. We'll follow through here and see if we can find Jimmy Richards, Mark Scaife's partner, Tony Strawn here, making sure his helmet is okay as well. And Jimmy Richards is out the back. You've just had a bit of physio and things like that before you head out, have you?
No, I just had a shower and dried off the underwear and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, ready to go again.
What really goes on when you've got a bit of downtime like this? How do you prep for the next stint?
I just eat some fruit, have some water and a bit of stuff, have a shower, clean Nomex underwear and dry your undies and dry your socks, dry your boots, so that you feel like, you just started the day. So it's good.
The car's been performing so well all weekend. How's the race been thus far for you?
The race has been terrific so far. It hasn't missed a beat. It's going fantastic. I think I think we'll be up there with the leaders at the end. Just a matter of waiting till the last sort of 20 laps when everyone's on the same schedule to know where you are in the scheme of things.
We know you're watching the clock. Head down to pit lane. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
Could be a nail biter, particularly if a safety car comes out and bunches these blokes up.
Tony's got this thing by the scruff of the neck at the moment, hasn't he? He's really pushing hard.
It's got some attitude on it, doesn't it? Very, very much close to the limit.
He said this was far and away the best car he's ever driven here at Mount Panorama.
Trying to close the gap to John Bower, who's in 5th place, Longhurst in 6th. You can see there, last lap he managed to close the deficit a little bit. Car 20, the second of the Orcon Falcons, the Wade Johnson machine. But Rick Kelly, 8.5 seconds in front of Todd Kelly. Todd is just continuing to chomp into that lead.
Now down to 8.1, Marco. So that last lap was a 209.4 from Todd and a 209.8 from Rick.
Incidentally, the corrected PitSmart computer corrected positions is showing exactly the same in the top positions, at least, as what we've got on the race score at the moment. And here's the physical gap between first and second. It's 8.1 seconds last time across the finish line.
Well, Yulden's done another 11, so that's pumped the gap out to 18.8. It's getting up toward 20 seconds now. So Luke has not been able to respond to the speed of the two Holdens in front of him, and that gap has grown progressively through his stint. Here it comes, Super Cheap Auto's car. Now, they will be praying for a safety car because Steve Ellery is obviously the faster driver of the two, and if they can compress this field, It's going to put him in a very competitive position for the run to the flag. But we haven't had a safety car for an awfully long time. Lap 79, last intervention. We're up to lap 123.
Getting right toward that period of 30-odd laps to go. Holden has won here on the mountain the last 4 years straight. The last Ford was in '98 when Jason Bright and Stephen Richards did it for SBR. Right now, it's a Holden 1-2 at the front. Rick Kelly versus Todd Kelly. Murphy will step in the car of 51 shortly. Skate will get back into car number 1, and then we'll take aim at the finishing line of the Bob Jane T-Marts 1000.
Welcome back, and we hope our international viewers are enjoying this coverage of the Bob Jane T-Marts 1000, in particular those viewers from New Zealand, because Greg Murphy is leading this race. At the moment, his co-driver Rick Kelly is behind the wheel of car 51, but Murph is the man. If you leave Auckland Airport before the Pukekohe round, you'll see his big head filling up billboards. He's very popular. It's a fearsome sight, in fact. Scaife and Todd Kelly. Now, this is the story. In fact, the gap has widened a little bit. However, it's a lot better than it was a few laps ago. Kelly, that's Todd, I should say, 8.6 seconds behind his brother. And Matthew White, in terms of the championship, which is brought to you by VB and Big Pond, there is some interesting news regarding points if they stay as they are.
Yeah, if they finish in this order, Murphy will only be 46 points adrift of Marcus Ambrose in the battle between first and second. That's unadjusted. And as I mentioned about 12 hours ago, that opens a whole can of worms. But really, this day, no matter which way you look at it, is all about this moment. Crunch time. And Rick Kelly is consistently bringing down his times. We're on lap 127. On lap 124, Rick went into the 9.4s. The lap after, he went 209.3. The gap between him and his brother Todd is about 8 seconds. And 8 seconds, as you just saw there, is about half of Mountain Straight.
They're trading blows, aren't they?
Rick's last lap, though, was a 10.3, so that hurt. Brought the margin down to 7.8 seconds. Darryl.
Yeah, I'm down here with the Super Cheap team. Stephen Ellery here now, putting his helmet on, getting ready. The team are now just monitoring everything, and they say the earliest they can come in is pretty much in the next lap or two, but they're planning on definitely being in around lap 130, 131, and Steve will take the car to the end. They're really happy with the car at this time.
So they should be, because they're headed for another podium. Luke Youlden and Stephen Ellery, second at Sandown. And if things stay the way they are, they'll be third here at Mount Panorama.
Great battle amongst these two brothers. First sector split, 52.39 for Rick, 52.36. So it's down to 3 100ths. They are just, you can just imagine the focus, Neil Crompton, in those cars. They would be in such a zone, wouldn't they?
I said to you during the break, Mark, that this stint is a great stint for a driver. It's green. There's been relatively little nonsense. In fact, I think none. Lots of empty space for you to get on and do your job, find your rhythm and drive the wheels off the car. All of the drivers in this stint will have enjoyed driving their racing cars. Big numbers coming out of them lap after lap. The fuel's burning off at a rate of about 3 kilos a lap. And they're getting faster and faster as they get towards the end of this stint.
And I guess for people at home, they wouldn't understand that. 1,000-kilometre race, you are driving every lap as hard as you can physically make that car go.
Yeah, this notion that you kind of just drive around here and then eventually you get on it at the end is not the case any longer. It may have been in the old days, because the cars in that era just wouldn't take that kind of punishment. The design of a V8 supercar now is such that you can drive at 11 tenths for lap after lap after lap. You find more and more time in your own mind, and it tends to be a little mind game. You think, you know what, in the last lap, I got away with that. I can do it a little bit more. Maybe I can get another 6 inches up the road here, or use a bit more of the exit space. And Kelly then, as he came out of turn 1, was as close as you'd want to go to the dirt on the exit of the road. And then up here you find, as the fuel load burns off, you can't believe how far you can get up here before you have to jam the brake pedal on, grab third gear and get through turn 2. This is Luke Youlden.
Gaps out to 25 seconds. It's really been ballooning. He's trying to hang on to those leading Commodores, Rick Kelly and Todd Kelly, but it's just been slipping from his grasp lap after lap. 25.1 seconds the gap now. He did a 2:12.3. Kelly did a 2:9.8. It's actually getting larger and larger as this stint unfolds.
25 years of age, Luke Youlden. Todd Kelly, 23, and Rick Kelly, 20. In a handful of laps, these guys are going to hand it over to the 30-somethings and let it roar to the end.
Cito's not that far behind the Super Cheap Autos car. It's only 10 seconds. It's been pretty static, though. He hasn't been closing the gap to Youlden at all.
Just on the last lap, he's made a yield, though. Look at that. Youlden was a 12.3. So Glenn's picked up nearly 1.5 seconds on that lap.
At the top of the mountain, good consistent run from Seaton and Lowndes. A lot of people wouldn't have expected this car to be in a competitive position. They've struggled with chassis balance, set up particularly its appetite for tyres. But they've really kept it well and truly in the competition.
Two good operators at this place. That's one of the key reasons. And FPR have been able to give them a reliable car today. There's the margin, Seaton to Bow.
Heading towards 50 straight laps without a safety car interruption.
So Bow's closing.
It's only 7.2 seconds behind the Caterpillar Ford, so there's some fairly elastic positions going there in the top 5. Longhurst is just out of it in 6th.
Sometimes those times don't tell the entire story because obviously traffic can have an impact here as well.
Ford Performance Racing was a race team set up by ProDrive, and our own Greg Rust is down with one of the top men from that organisation.
Sure ain't, Markham, with their managing director Nick Fry. I guess welcome back to Australia. We saw you at the beginning of the season. We're almost at the end of it. How's the year been as far as your involvement in FPR is concerned?
Well, we're very pleased with progress. As you know, we only bought the team 9 months ago. With 12 people, we've now got 40 people and doing pretty well here.
How does ProDrive as an organisation, which has been successful in all kinds of endeavours in World Rally and sports cars, how have you found V8 Supercar and what sort of input from your experience in other categories has helped you?
Well, this is quite complicated. I don't think anyone walks into a category and is successful straight away. So this is a 1 or a 2 year program. I think what we've been able to bring so far is maybe a bit of analytical rigour to understand things like the suspension and the engine. We're working on an engine in England at the moment, which hopefully will see the light of day later in the year. So things are progressing reasonably well.
Mixed day for you here today.
Yeah, it has. It's been a bit up and down, but you know, Craig and Glenn doing an absolutely great job, and a few more laps to go. So fingers crossed.
Thanks, Nick. We'll let you get back to it.
Thank you.
That engine they've been working on in the UK, they've been working on all year, and it keeps letting go on them over there at the moment. So they were hoping to have it here for this weekend, but that wasn't the case. So that was a bit of a setback, but it doesn't seem to have hurt them too much in the way that the race has unfolded. They've had fuel efficiency.
Whoa, there goes another one.
He's hit the wall.
Car 19.
Now, is that the safety car that everyone's been praying for?
That's not going to go anywhere, Marco, with Owen Kelly, I think, behind the wheel.
Is he going to try and...
Just as we were talking to the FPR boys.
It's David Bernard at the wheel in position 22. And that car has been in the wars throughout the weekend. Now, he's got some serious damage there, and whether he's going to be able to limp it around to the pit lane will determine whether we get a safety car out.
Tell you what, he'll be lucky to get it around there, but it's going all right now. So a little bit of a tangle with 65, gets pushed wide at the Conica bend and straight into that wall.
I don't think he made contact with the better electrical car. He just took avoiding action, and he's gone right off into the marbles and all the dirt and garbage there and straight into the concrete wall.
Isn't it a frustrating process where you get out into that low grip stuff and there's just no way you can get the car back? It must look so odd for viewers. You think, well, just how can they get around the corner? But there's just no way you can steer the car in those conditions.
Yeah, you can see all that dirt and rubbish there. Beautiful shot of it. They call it the marbles, Neil, because it's actually rolls of rubber, but the effect is like driving on marbles.
I would have said he's going a bit quick here.
Yeah. Ooh. Grinding that wheel into the bitumen.
Where is it going to end? Will it end in pit lane?
Or in tears.
Or in tears. I think it's already ended in tears, but...
Very careful here.
Sparks flying everywhere.
He's going to get it back, I think.
Yeah, he'll get it back okay.
Yeah. Here we
super
go.
careful there because he doesn't have much to steer that car with.
Super Cheap Autos Ford is in. Luke Ilden's out. Stephen Ellery takes over for the run to the flag.
Okay, reset fuel, mate. Stab your brake for me, please.
So they didn't get that safety car period they were hoping for that changeover. That's going to cost them even more time. They were 32 seconds down on the leading pair when he peeled off into pit lane. Meanwhile,
You're going to have to watch the left front, Steve. That's two we've got on there with little flat spots, and I'm in a tread
I tell you what, he's not messing around getting this thing in.
he's going to make it too.
It's bizarre.
The wheel has done the job. It's just kept the front suspension off the ground and provided him with a skid.
Careful coming into pit lane, Dave. Remember, you won't have the steering you used to.
It's Dave Patterson on the radio, his engineer.
Slow down, slow down.
I would have thought that wasn't going to go anywhere about 6 Ks ago. And now he's managed to limp it all the way back in. So he seems to have fairly good steering because he's had no problems all the way around there, given the situation.
Avoided bringing the safety car out too. So more repairs for car 19.
And it's the other side this time. I think it was the front right last time, wasn't it? Need the go-jacks under it. John Gray on the case again. He's sick of the side of the front of this car.
Stop bringing it in. Yes. It's a tough place, Mount Panorama. It's completely now encased in concrete. So anywhere you get it wrong, there's very, very little room for error.
Initiated the fire extinguisher there just to...
Activated the hydrant.
Just so you can't see.
Just add more confusion. Well, what about the race picture itself? Rick Kelly versus Todd Kelly. 7 seconds is the difference. Lowndes and Seaton are holding on to a podium position right now. 31 full laps to go in the Bob Jane T-Marts 1000.
Here we go. We're getting set now for the sprint to the line. The Cat car comes in. FPR's best performer this afternoon. Glenn Seaton hands it over to Craig Lowndes. The wheels go on. The fuel goes in as accurately as possible so the car can be as light as possible. Mind you, it'll be pretty much a full tank for this last run to the 161st lap and the checkered flag. Also coming in is the race leader. And it'll be Rick Kelly handing over to Greg Murphy. Here we go. Rick has done a pretty good job out there, although his brother Todd has cut the margin down at this point to just over 6 seconds. They are yet to come into the pits, the Holden Racing team. So when all this is shuffled down, it'll be Murphy versus Scaife in the run to the line.
Clean the screen if we can.
Slowest thing here, Billy, will be the refuel. They've got to fill that fuel tank full of Optimax for the last time today. And that is the longest process. 23 seconds. Nice turnaround.
Reset fuel.
Well, car 6 did a good turnaround.
Radio out, loosen your belts when it's time.
51 did a good turnaround. Now, Todd Kelly will vacate the seat for Mark Scaife.
Going to be a battle between Scaife and Murphy to the flag.
No love lost there.
And here they go. Crew jump into action. Check it out on the Shell Optimax clock. Greg Rust is on the spot.
Mark, the crucial thing I think with both of these stops is it will be a full tank of gas for both of them. With 51, they went right to the top of the tank. Fresh tyres on. Mark Scaife is in. Kelly is out. Let's watch what happens here with car 1. They are not using a stopwatch to time this. Looks like it's a full tank. There you go.
Watch your speed limit, watch your speed limit. Much throttle, mate. You're in a good position now. Nice and smooth.
That sets up an enthralling run to the line.
I got you, mate.
He's got to do 29 or 29, 30 laps on this tank.
So look at that. Here comes
He's the leader on the left.
Commodore takes back the lead as Mark Scaife trundles up pit lane with the speed limiter on.
Doesn't that kill you? When you've got the, and I've seen that. You look out the side of the car and you see the guy, you see the target, you think, oh, if I can only switch this thing on.
I'm going to go and get him. So there you are. This is the battle for the lead. Kmart Commodore. It's had this race by the throat for most of the day.
And I have to add, and some people have asked from time to time, why do we have it? It's just purely for pit lane safety. In the old days, wasn't that long ago, that you could blast through the pit lane any speed you wanted to. There used to be some fair lunatics by the time they got to the end of it. And you imagine with crew like this, with their backs to the traffic, it was just fearful. And in today's insurance climate, that's unacceptable. So
it's extraordinarily dangerous, wasn't it, sometimes?
Okay, Richard, can you please reset your door and you're off to leave the car on reserve pump, mate? That fuel is reset.
So car 11 rejoins car 34. Shown some great pace today, but that early drama has dropped them right out of contention. They've continued to run.
They're 22nd at the moment, and they still hold the lap record at 2:8.6726, so at least they'll go away with some bragging rights from the pace that they've achieved.
Always leaves you wondering what might have been, doesn't it? So
what's your pit lane speed, GT? Adjust your bias, your brake, and your brake bars.
Gets back into the action, and we're settling down to a fight now between Greg Murphy and Mark Scaife to the flag.
Don't forget, after this race, we're going to cross to Suzuka, Japan for the final round of the World Formula One Championship. Rubens Barrichello for Ferrari on pole from Montoya. Oh, car 21, the Aussie male entry with John at the wheel, and loops it around at turn 1. Technically not supposed to touch those yellow things, but I don't reckon Bondi or Tim are going to be too worried when you back over them like that.
It's coming out of the pit exit as car 11 sweeps through.
Further to the Formula One grid, D'Amato and Panis third and fourth. Webber is sixth. Join us after this race. It'll be a beauty.
Rusty?
Tony Longhurst is out of car 2. A refreshed Jimmy Richards gets in. Tyres already on. Good slick stop for car 2 here for the Holden Racing team. And again, looks like a full tank of gas for these guys.
27 laps to go, Rusty.
8.4 seconds the gap between Murphy and Scaife as they came across the start-finish line. This should be an absorbing contest. Who's got the speed now?
That's another 167 kilometres worth of driving to the finish line.
8.4 seconds.
Watch your speed, mate. Watch your speed.
Between first and second place. All the pit stops are over now for those leading 2 cars. So it could be a nail-biter.
After all the shuffles, all the pits coming into account now, the PlayStation 2 race score is just simply flat out. Murphy versus Scaife versus Jones and Bow. Richards and Longhurst, Ambrose and Engel, Lowndes and Seaton make up our top 6. Ellery and Youlden in 7th. And Stephen Johnson and Warren Luff go through their final change.
Pump your brake pedals, Stephen, and hold the green button for 2 seconds. Reset your brake balance and anti-roll bars, and just make sure your drink bottle's connected. Over.
10 cars, 11 cars on the lead lap. The gap between first and second is 8.4 seconds between this man, Murphy.
He's been much faster, almost 7/10 faster on the second split at the top of the mountain. So we'll check this as Murphy comes across the start-finish line to commence another lap, see what the gap is. It was 8.4 last time around.
Well, Murph goes across the line. Now Scaife will give us a true indication.
10.4, so he's gained 2 seconds on Scaife on that lap.
10 seconds, plus 10 seconds.
And Mark was a lap or so behind Greg Murphy's stop, so he's just taking a lap longer to cycle temperature into the tyres and get the car into top racing trim. So this is going to be an interesting contest.
You can see there John Bow trailing Mark Scaife up Mountain Straight. He'll go past his teammate in the 888 car, John Clellan, down in the Aussie Mile garage. They're still crunching some numbers. What's going on, Rusty?
Well, Matty, they reckon they can make car 21 last until lap 138 before the need for fuel. They'll give it a splash, a double stint for John Bow all the way to the line. But to compound this problem, he's got a little bit of a radio drama. He can hear them sometimes, but not always.
That's the way it works on the mountain.
intermittent radio signals are always easy to pick up.
That's pretty much what it sounds like. Here's a replay of an incident involving Mark Scaife getting a little bit tangled up with John Bow. A lot tangled up, in fact.
Now, I was looking at that shot of Scaife coming up toward the cutting. I thought there was some damage on the left-hand door. This is where it happened. Look, got a big dent in there.
We've been going now for 5 hours, 32 minutes under race conditions. Mark Scaife's back door keeps flipping open. He's trying to chase down Greg Murphy, who started from pole position and is now in sight for his 3rd Bathurst crown. Can he put Rick Kelly on the podium as the youngest ever winner? We'll find out after this.
Well, it wouldn't be Bathurst without some late technical drama, would it? Last year it was plastic bags. This year it's the left rear door on Mark Scaife's Holden Racing Team Commodore. While that door is flapping open, it may well be closing on his opportunity to win a 3rd consecutive Bob Jane T-Marts 1000. He'll have to pit or possibly face a black flag. And this is a nightmare for Holden fans and, of course, the team itself. While this man, Greg Murphy, is tucking into some pretty neat lap times and has a 12-second margin.
Oh, he's got his head down, Billy. He's just done a 10 neat. 9.3 for Scaife, the gap 11.3 seconds. And we might have an update on the situation with Scaife's flapping door. Let's go down to the pits.
Mark just followed Jeff Grech up to Paul Taylor and the Avesco officials that operate pit lane here. Jeff's obviously, concerned by the fact that in that incident between John Bow and Mark Scaife, it's broken the lock on that rear door, so it's just flapping on its hinge occasionally. Jeff is adamant it is not a dangerous situation. They see no reason to pit. He's conveyed that opinion to the Avesco officials. They've not yet said whether there's going to be any action over this. Having said that, HRT are standing by with big pieces of race tape in case Mark has to pit. At the moment, they've got their fingers crossed.
Well, it's not up to Avesco, it's up to the race director and the clerk, of course. What's limiting the door from swinging completely open is the driver ventilation duct, the NACA duct that's actually up in the window there, and Ambrose comes in to take his final stop, and Darrell's there. Incidentally, Ellery's short shifting to conserve fuel. It's marginal for him at the moment.
Clean the screen if you can, clean the screen.
Marcus is in the pits here again. This team was definitely just fuel and tyres, as they had to pit earlier before with that front tyre delaminating. They've had to come in again now just to take that bit extra fuel on. Not having a good run, these boys, this weekend.
I don't think he got his screen cleaned either, as per his request. And it's hard in the late afternoon here when you head up to the cutting, the sun gets right in your eyes, and if you've got garbage on the screen, or did he get it cleaned? I'm not sure, I didn't see it, but that's not him around here.
Well, not only is Greg Murphy and before him Rick Kelly been very consistent on the times, but their challengers in the form of Scaife and Bow in particular have both had dramas. So too, we know, has Ambrose and Ellery, Lowndes and Seaton. So all the guys in position to have a crack at the Kmart number 51 car have had something go astray.
And remember at the top of the show, Matthew, we said, well, can Greg Murphy get through a big day without being a trouble magnet? Well, the answer to the question so far is yes. There's 21 laps to go, and it's everybody else that's been attracting the trauma.
Good chance of Craig Lowndes and Glenn Seaton getting on the podium here this afternoon. John Bow is currently running 3rd, 4.5 seconds behind Scaife, but he has to make a final stop for fuel. And that's going to move Lowndes and Seaton up to 3rd and Ellery up to 4th.
And Ellery's the one that I was talking about before that's short shifting to conserve fuel, because when he last pitted in car number 31, it was lap 130, so he's got to do 31 laps. It's right on the nervous edge of the fuel burn.
We've just been running green, full green, since lap 79. 139. It's quite often a phenomenon in this race. We have a number of shunts and spins and blow-ups, lots of safety cars in the first half of the race, and then once all those cars are cleared off, we quite often have long periods of flat-out green running. That's what we've had this afternoon.
Yeah, I was just down here with the Stone Brothers. That one of those wheels that has come off the car again has delaminated. Dunlop have checked the pressures every time these fronts have come off. The pressures have been fine, but it's definitely something going on here, Cromley, and they've all been in a corner, huddled around discussing about it. They did try tyres, diagonals, tyres that had done different mileage on the front, and it's been happening all day.
Just spoken to the officials again in pit lane here, and the word is they will just continue to monitor the Mark Scape situation. No, I guess, judgments of any kind at this point in time. Also, because John Bauer is having difficulty here in the Aussie Mail team, they've resorted back to the old pit board. They've written in big black writing, "Stay in the car, JB." They want him in there for the other stint, the last stint.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it?
There's something weird going on with those front tyres on the SBR car. So they've either got a suspension geometry issue. We know that they get great temperature in their tyres in the typical sprint rounds. We see the evidence of it by the lap times, but maybe that very same setup trait when you do long distances around here at very high speeds on the straights. It could be a camber thing, a caster thing. It might be something to do with the tyre banging up into the shotgun panel, up into the inner guard. I don't know. There's a million different options.
Something not right with
but there's something
geometry.
not right.
Yeah. And it's been, I guess it's rearing its ugly head now because they've been struggling with a balance problem all week.
And they had a problem last year which resulted in, I mean, you don't pay attention totally to the other teams, but didn't they have flats here last year as well? Wasn't Wheel leading at one point when he had a flat?
They were certainly in plenty of bother. And it's just funny, the Stone Brothers just haven't managed to crack the code here for a number of years. They were the last Ford team to win here, in fact, back in 1998. But since then, they've really struggled to get into the zone, be it the mechanical setup of the car or the drivers that they've used. Haven't been able to tick all the boxes.
Because Bowie's going to have to do another stop.
Craig Lowndes cruising along there, elbow resting on the door, a la Peter Brock.
10.3 on his last lap. Ellery 10.6. Steve Ellery's still doing good times, given that he's in semi-conservation mode. He's just taking a couple of hundred revs out of the shift. And there's Marcus, who's dropped to 9th after that stop. Remember, the point score favours survivors. And the winners in the 2003 season, first, second and third, don't really get as much of a yield as they have in previous years. Thinking about the contribution these points will make to the championship, including this race. There's 6 races to come. The next one's up at the Gold Coast, and then
Marcus, that's Ritter behind you. If you want to let him go, just let him go. We've got to look after these tyres and get to the finish lane, so might want to knock the pace off a little, make sure we get to the end without having to stop again.
That's effectively 10th position on the line. Marcus Ambrose and the Aussie Mail racing crew makes it very clear.
Got to stay in the car, Jibber. I'm sure that'll be easy to read from the car.
Yeah.
Stay in the car, JB, I think it's supposed to say.
it's very high tech.
Yes. Well, the radio's not working, and they've gone back to the old system of holding boards out, the old board signals.
Should have emailed him.
So Murphy, 10.9 seconds, the gap between himself and Mark Scape. It hasn't moved. They're slogging it out. 2:09.49 for Murph, and 9.52 for Scape. But that gap remaining fairly static. I believe JB's teammate Brad Jones is down in pit lane with the headsets on. But he's just had to bail out, so he won't cross to Bradley just yet, because I think JB will be pretty close to his final stop. There'll be a fraught moment down there in the Aussie Mail pit. It's going to move Craig Lowndes up to third. And you've got to say, Lowndes and Seaton, I don't think he would have banked on them being on the podium earlier in the day.
Total time loss here when you just do a splash and go, bolt the tyres on without the driver change. Probably going to be about 67 seconds is the total time departure from your normal time profile. That is to get in, stop, do the job, get out and rejoin. It's a lot of time. If you add that to where John is in the field at the moment, it plummets him back down the order. My maths aren't that good. It's just a long way.
Lowndes is 35 seconds behind Bow.
My 4:30 wake-up brain doesn't compute at this point in time.
So based on Crompton's calculations there, you should rejoin about 40 seconds behind if everything goes to plan.
It's just amazing how much the field will spread out when you go this distance without a safety car.
The reason Bradley's snuck away and not wanting to talk to us, because they don't have comms with John, they're concerned that he hasn't got the message. I think it was Chris Maney that had the board up there saying stay in the car. If he didn't see it and didn't recognise it, his instinctive response is to leap out of the car, which would be a bit ugly if Bradley was talking to us and John gets out of it.
And let's not forget that process starts when you're on your way down Conroy. It's actually quite a business.
Mind you, the buckle up procedure is pretty simple if you do stay in there, because the fuel will take a fair bit of time. So they'll sort it out.
Has he seen the sign?
That'd be the stay in the car message.
Yeah.
Bradley looks so much better with that thing on his head, doesn't he?
Greg
Rust, yeah.
Well, that's the reason Brad had to bolt, guys, because they couldn't talk to John before. They weren't sure whether John knew that he needed to stay in this car for the final stint. Car's away, and it's just amazing the way they go back to. Might try and get a shot at this if we can. The way they go back to some basics here in situations like this.
Craig Lowndes taking over third spot, and Ellery moves into fourth. Bow just plundering along pit lane here with the speed limiter on. It must be agonising.
This is...
It's a shame for these guys. I thought they were going to be a big chance this year. And I'd love to see me little mate from Albury finally score one. It's the holy grail for Brad.
It is. Grand final, the Melbourne Cup. It's the day for these guys. John Bowes tasted it before. Bradley Jones hasn't. The way things are going, he'll have to wait another year, because the way things are going, Greg Murphy's going to the top of the tree on the biggest race day that we've got all year. Back after this. There's 16 laps to go now, Billy. And around here, that's a touch under 100 kilometres worth of racing to go.
These guys are racing for position too. This is the fight for fifth. John Bow, he's had Stephen Richards climbing all over him in the Castrol Commodore. Look how close they are as they come down Conrod Straight into the chase. Hard under brakes into the left-hander. Richo attacks on the outside. Bow driving defensively. Has not provided an opportunity for Richards. And it's been getting pretty hot and heavy, let me tell you.
And early in the day, race control won't tolerate too much defensive driving, but late in the day, all bets are off. And, you know, Richo's...
Well, you can yell and scream all you like, but John Bow is taking a conservative line down the inside. They are fighting for position here. He's going to use every trick that he knows. I believe Bradley Jones is joining us now. Are you there, Brad?
I certainly am.
JB's pretty good at making this car wide at the right time of the day.
Two pretty difficult guys to pass out there having a dice at the moment. Look, you know, JB's just trying to get his eye in on those cold tyres, and Cromley, you know what it's like when you're out there and you've got someone all over you that's, you know, got their eye in and up to speed. You just, you know, got to get in their way really until you can have a bit of a clear shot at it. So he's skipped away a fraction here now, so maybe he can get away far enough to press on. But really, I think the gap's something like 38 seconds to Ellery from where we are now, so he needs to trip and fall for us to catch him, or Ellery or Lowndes, which is, you know, unfortunate really.
Yeah, plus Richo's got the benefit of a slightly lighter car at the moment as well, BJ.
Yeah, Richo did his stop a little bit earlier, and we just plonked a bit of fuel and some tyres in it, but, you know, looks like he's up to speed now and driving like the true champion he is.
Brad, you can tell by the tone in your voice, you must be disappointed.
Yeah, I am disappointed. Sort of, you know, what can you say? You come here every year and try and win the thing, and today we just weren't strong enough. It's my brother Kim. You know, it's one of those things. We had a throttle jam open, and it was either stop and fix it and be able to race properly, or stay at the front and see what happened. And with it, you know, it's double jeopardy. The problem is you stay at the front with the throttle jamming wide open, you're going to clout something. And even though we had great track position, I was hoping that we could fix the throttle and get back out again, have another safety car and be in the race, because the car's got a good turn of speed. So, you know, we've clawed back up to where we are right now from being the last car on the lead lap. So it's a great job by the team and by JB, but it's not good enough to get on the podium.
Any clue as to what the problem is with the throttle return, Brad?
Sorry, Cromley, I didn't hear that.
No, sorry, mate. I was just saying, is there any clues as to what the throttle return problem was? Do you know why it's doing it?
You got really bad static. I hope you're not asking me to sing, but I think you said here, have I got any clues as to what was going wrong with the car? Oh, that's a little bit better. Someone must have turned
it. With the throttle. What was the problem with the throttle? Do you know?
I don't know exactly what it is. It's either broken a spring in the engine, in the throttle assembly, or and the guys jumped in and loosened everything off, so it was really sloppy, and it's done the trick. We can drive it fast. I think JB did 9.3 just before, so obviously the car's got a good turn of speed. It's just that we're starting from too far back.
BJ, what about your own form? Were you happy? You always know in your own heart whether you have a good run here or not. What did you reckon about your own act today?
Sorry, I can't hear. Oh, I got static. Where's the producer?
Don't worry about it, mate. I'll ring you after the race.
Yeah, great. That'll be terrific.
See ya.
Thanks, guys. Sorry.
That's okay. These things arise from time to time. Brad taking time out to talk to us and give us an inside view from the Aussie Mail pit. We'll go inside the Castrol pit as well with the grand old man himself, Larry Perkins. Grant.
Going on there at the moment, but I guess it's a little bit nail-biting to be sitting here watching it.
Yeah, I'm just watching Richo having a hard time with John Bowe, but the whole race is a hard battle, I can tell you, and the pace is really pretty frantic. And but Richo, he had too much of too far behind when he took over from me, and it's been real hard work for him.
It's been hard work for the team right through this weekend after the shunt you had yesterday. But to be quite honest, it seems that sixth place, maybe not where you want to be, but I think it's quite an outstanding performance.
Oh, the car, there's nothing wrong with the car. It's real good, and Richo's putting in some tremendously good laps there. I weren't fast enough in my stint and put us too far behind, and but that's the way it's gone.
The other car has performed pretty well and then had some terrible luck.
I don't know what happened. It's still going, I believe, but I think he had some form of accident damage or slow car traffic or something, but the way it goes.
All right, Larry, thanks very much, guys. There you go, Larry Perkins, team owner, team boss. Not quite sure what happened to the other car. He's obviously very relaxed.
Well, you have eyes for only your own game when you're up here. You couldn't often care less about the other car, quite frankly, but I thought that was pretty raw honesty from Larry. Just said, look, I just didn't have enough speed in my stint there, and I think we're seeing hints of telling words here from Larry this weekend. 16 and 55, whack. More gravel into the S's here.
Fujitsu car. That's the Fernandez entry. Let's have a look at this from the front view.
And I hope this hasn't upset the 16 car too much. I mean, it's got a fairly sizable dent in it now, but these guys have been putting in a good performance. Greg Ritter and Marcus Marshall, they're in the top 10. The leading and surviving Team Brock car.
Well, we're hearing there's some complaints coming from the FPR garages about the fact that Mark Scaife is being allowed to continue with the door flapping in the breeze. More from the pits.
Well, Mark, I think it's also coming from the Aussie Mail crew. We're down here with John Russell, the team boss at Ford Performance Racing. How would that help you, and what's your take on it?
Our take is basically that we had a similar sort of issue at Oran Park and weren't allowed out the pit lane until we'd repaired David's door. We could have forced an issue and stopped David out there when he had his incident and forced a safety car, which would have worked to our advantage. But I like to do things in a sporting way, and it, to me, just doesn't seem that it's being handed out quite fairly.
All right, so what is your plan of attack? You've obviously gone to the officials. What's been their reaction?
Their reaction was they were monitoring it.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
And we've got a car, Rusty 66, that has launched itself up on the top of the mountain. Dean Canto in the better electrical Ford Falcon.
What a shame.
Yeah, he was in 8th position when all this started happening.
There's going to be a fire here.
Yeah.
He needs to get to an extinguisher or near to one of the fire marshals quickly. There's going to be a lot of oil up the top, I'd suggest.
He's parked it off the racing line. I'm not sure whether the oil trail will be enough to call out a safety car. We'll find out. Dean Canto and Matthew White. They can see how fed up he is as he slams the door. Done a great job, these two.
And what John Russell was saying there before is that, if we want to play a dirty game, we could have positioned David in such a way that he neutralised the race. Obviously, if they get caught doing any of that on the radio, they get hung. But they're obviously aggrieved at the moment that the situation is that Scaife's got the flapping door and it's not halting proceedings. But here's the PlayStation race score. Murphy still looks strong.
Scaife, 11 seconds behind. Things are going on behind the scenes that may alter that. Lowndes and Seaton holding on to a podium finish in the great race.
Down the main straight here, heading up towards the corner, turn one, the mountain straight. This is power for Stephen Richards. Oh, listen to the crowd, because that means a couple of things.
Holy moly.
Safety car for one, you'd expect, Billy.
Yep. And the other is a very cranky Aussie male team.
He is well and truly stuck there. You can see him gesturing to the rescue crew. Come on, get me out, get me out. That's going to be a full course yellow.
Oh, this adds an entirely different scope to this race.
Well, it was just settling down into some sort of finishing pattern, and all of a sudden this is going to compress that field. Murphy. Scaife on his bumper. Let's have a look at the Strathfield replay, Neil.
Well, Richo was screaming on the radio just prior to this. He'd lost his patience, and he gets, I don't know, he gets up the inside. You can see it from both sides. Obviously, one half are going to say one thing and one half the other. The stewards will look closely. That's the angle, actually. I'd like to see that slower to see how far up the side Richo got. And these two will obviously blue about it, and neither party's going to be happy. Here's another angle again. We've got lots of angles of this. Early on, it looks okay, but was he far enough up the inside at the critical point?
Looks like he's alongside the B pillar there, in terms of the technical adjudication of it. There you go, he's right in the
From
B
that
pillar.
angle, it doesn't look as convincing, though, does it? Oh, dear. Anyway, upstairs, in fact, about 10 metres from where we're sitting, they'll be looking at these pictures with the same sort of intensity, and they'll make the judgment call, not us.
The ramifications are huge. With 11 laps to go, Tim Schenken and Race Control have called on the safety car.
That's Tim in the white shirt, standing in the middle there. Brad Jones. Believe it. Greg Rust?
Really soul-destroying. Brad, you've had a chance to look at it. Can you give us your, objective opinion on it?
Geez, it's not that easy to be objective, Look, you've got to be up to the B pillar, and he wasn't up to the back door. What can I say? I mean, racing's racing, but really, at the end of the race, it's pretty disheartening when something like this happens and the wrong bloke's in the sand. Stevie's out there doing the best he can. They're having a good dice. Stuff happens.
You put your head in your hands there before. Just describe how you feel right now.
Sick. I mean, you work all day, and we got back up to 5th, and it was a good result, all things considered. So, we were not going to be on the podium anyway unless a miracle happened. But to come this far and get within 10 laps to the end and then go in the sand and, drop a lap or two, it's pretty hard to take. But, that's the way it is.
Hard luck, Brad.
Thanks, Justin.
Larry, you've seen the replay over and over. What's your take?
Oh, it's pretty clear. Richo's been blocked for at least 10 laps, and he's been on the radio to us complaining bitterly, what can we do to get Bow to play the racing game, not the blocking game. He got well down, well past the A pillar, and all Bow had to do was give him room, but obviously Bow didn't want to do that, and he's come off second best, and I imagine he's crying now. Well, I think he deserved he brought it on himself.
I guess there's been no communications from Race Control to you guys?
No, there shouldn't be. You're allowed to get down to the A pillar. He was well past A pillar. Bow knew he was there. All Bow had to do was not turn in front of him and give him room. Now, not much to ask for a guy, especially of his experience, but he didn't want to do that, and he came off second best.
Thanks, Larry.
We've just relayed some of that information to Brad. What do you think about what Larry had to say?
Well, I appreciate that this is Larry's last time at the event. He's been a fantastic ambassador for the sport, and he's done really well. But when he was wobbling around in front of Lowndes and myself and Radicic and a whole heap of guys, 2 seconds slower than us, not one of us punted him off the road. And he may think that JB got his just desserts, but they're racing hard. There's rules, and we all abide by them. And the rules are you don't run into people. So while Larry might think that that's okay and we got what we deserved, it's not like that at all. When he was wobbling around, we didn't hit him. It's just not fair.
Thank you.
Well, that's that. And JB now manages to get out of the ditch.
Great misfortune for the Aussie male team. One positive aspect to this in terms of the showbiz side is it sets up a fascinating finish here because it's bunched the field up.
It certainly has. Murphy will now have to hold off Scaife and Lowndes in particular. Those three fighting for the podium. We will come back for the finish. The dash to the end of a long, long day on the...
to the finish to decide the Bob J. T-Marts 1000. Greg Murphy now with a lot less track to defend against Mark Scaife. Craig Lowndes in third position, but there are cars mixed in between them. So he has really poor track position at the moment. But Scaife unleashed to attack Murphy.
Look at how hard Scaife's working that Holden Racing Team Commodore through McPhillamy Park for the first time. Flames belching from the exhaust. He's got Murphy well within his sights.
And there's been an official protest lodged against the number 1 HRT car by FPR, as I understand.
And by my count, the difference between Murphy and Lowndes, there was 8 cars in between Murphy and Lowndes at that restart. So Billy mentioned there was traffic in the way, but premier car speed from Greg Murphy.
Black flag, they've just black flagged Scaife, so he's going to have to come in.
Oh, this will be interesting. Down into the chase for the first time. Murphy leading this one. This is on board Scaife. I'm sure he's been given the news by now. It's official.
He has been by his own team.
Has to report to pit lane and get that swinging door secured.
And he's gone past the pit lane entry. He's going to discuss it more with his team.
Well, he can almost taste it. Look, he's got the lead there, well within view. He's not going to give that up easily. He'll be arguing that the team is going to argue on his behalf for the next few laps and maybe getting out of it. Don't like his chances. So Mark Scaife continuing. Murphy leading, 1.2 seconds the gap after that lap. Lowndes is a few cars back in the queue. He's third with Ellery right behind him. So there's the battle for first. And then a big gap back to Craig Lowndes. Here he comes in the Caterpillar Falcon, and there's Ellery.
It's going to promote Lowndes into second and Ellery to third. And Ellery, who's been short shifting to conserve fuel, is now, as you said before, off the leash. And he can go after Lowndes. He's had great car speed. In fact, if anything, he might have had a bit more than Lowndes. Has he got enough at the right end of the day?
So good to see this team stepping up to the plate at the right time of the year. There were rumours that Super Cheap Autos may have been taking their money elsewhere. But the performance of this team at Sandown and Bathurst, head and shoulders above just about everyone else. It's been an outstanding comeback. Single car operation based in Queensland.
Pressure building as we head towards the very final laps of this 1,000 kilometre event. 6 hours and 17 minutes on the race clock. Greg Murphy leading Mark Scaife. Lowndes in third. We're on board with fourth position, Stephen Ellery.
Still some discussion over the flag that was shown to Scaife. We'll confirm that for you.
Yeah.
Time running out here.
Robbie Starr's on the radio to him and he's coming in.
1.2 seconds the gap last time around. Look at him, he's still got his head down. Attitude on the car. He's absolutely driving the wheels off it, but he's got to come in. Huge roar from the crowd. So close yet so far for Mark Scaife. Aiming at the hat-trick in 2003. Look at that door swinging. And the Holden Racing Team crew will be ready with the magic tape. Slap it over that seal and get this car back into business, but his crack at the lead has gone. That's all it needed.
Well, it's all over in terms of the winner, provided Murphy gets it done now.
Greg Rust.
Let's try and have a word to maybe Jeff Rick about this. Mark Scaife was shaking his head at the wheel at the time. Jeff, what is your take on this scenario? What do you think about it?
I don't know, Greg. I really don't want to comment. I mean, you saw the door lock had broken because Bow hit it, and it could open that far. I mean, spoiler boots are allowed to go. Like, there was no danger to anyone. I can't believe it. Like 15 laps. It's been like that for 15 laps. You read what you think about it.
You can feel the steam coming out of Jeff Breck's ears, boys.
Certainly can, because
I reckon he would have been struggling with his words there, because he'd be listening in the other ear to what Mark Scaife's saying, and it wouldn't be pleasant.
I doubt it, mate. I'll wait, have to see when you come back around this lap. The next bloke will be, I think, it's Radisich on the same lap.
So his crack at a hat-trick Mountain Winds has gone. Still soldiering on, still getting position cues from Robbie Starr on the headsets. Still pushing hard until that checkered flag falls. Darryl?
Bruce Ellery, Sandown was a terrific result. Things are going terrific here as well.
Yes, I'm just very happy with the job the boys have done. Steve and Luke have drove the car brilliantly. Those first two stints of Steve's was the best I've seen him drive ever, I'd say. We're hanging in there at third. We've got Stephen Richards and Jim Richards closing on us. So let's see what happens. But whatever happens, I'm just so proud of the lot of them.
Are you surprised with Scafie's incident?
No, I'm not. If it had been us, we would have been in 10 laps ago.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Darryl.
Well, the Mark Scaife ruling was a steward's decision, and they deemed it to be a dangerous position once the field closed up under that safety car.
Mate, you've got to keep the intensity up. The Richos are doing mid-nines behind you. You've got to keep the intensity there.
Explanation. In real terms, it means this. Greg Murphy is 7 seconds clear of second place, which is now Craig Lowndes. Stephen Ellery is third. Stephen Richards is fourth. Jim Richards is fifth. Ritter and Marshall are sixth. Ambrose is seventh on your PlayStation 2 race score. Then it's Radicic, and Scaife drops back to ninth position. Six laps to go.
It's a real shootout here for the miners between Lowndes, Ellery and Stephen Richards.
And the most impressive thing about the Super Cheap effort is the fact that a single car team can still run with the pace with these double car outfits. It's not an easy job going testing with one car. You're only getting one load of data. But when you've got two cars, you can double your testing rate. So the fact that they're running this strongly all day with these multi-car operations, I think they deserve a big pat on the back. And they've taken a big step up at the right end of the year.
Ellery's been complaining a little of a vibration from the front right tyre, which was what Marcus Ambrose was saying earlier as well. So even though he wants to push, he's probably in semi-nurse mode in the places where there's peak lateral load. He wouldn't want to be dropping the car in too hard and too fast at Reed Park at the moment.
Craig Murphy is 7 seconds up the road.
Isn't it amazing with this motor race, we're 156 laps down and it comes down to 7 seconds. Different drivers, different technicians behind the scenes, different engineering philosophies. It's so close after such an intense motor race.
They hand it to the boys at FPR. Running 3 cars this weekend. The other 2 haven't been so fortunate, but this Caterpillar car has not only been reliable, but it's 2 drivers, one of the most gifted driver combinations you have in the race this weekend. Glenn Seaton and Craig Lowndes have lifted the performance of that car and the team to find themselves in such a strong position. Second place within 7 seconds of the lead of this motor race.
Stephen Richards was 2/10 quicker on that lap than Stephen Ellery. There's the gap, and there's the gap back to Jimmy Richards behind Stephen. It must have been a bad segment in the middle of the day for the number 2 HRT car, and there's nothing obvious in terms of its pit stops. They may have had a slow stop or just a sequence where they were buried in traffic, but earlier in the day I thought they were well positioned, but they've ended up without good track position at the end of the day despite having pretty good car speed.
Stephen Ellery's got to watch his mirrors here because Richards is gaining on him very, very quickly in car 2. This is the view from the Castrol Commodore, and there's the Super Cheap Autos Ford just in front.
Changing up from 3rd to 4th on the way into Reed Park. It's 175 k's, 200 here.
Oh, look at this, he really is catching him, Proctor.
Pushing hard, 4th gear, big run towards Skyline, just onto 220 k's when Richo grabs the brake in 3rd gear. 2nd gear through the S's and on the way to the Dipper. Yanking speed off the car, 85 k's at the apex at the Dipper. 2nd to 3rd, it's 145 k's. Back to 2nd for Forest Elbow, and this run down here is sensational.
This is the real hard grind end of the day, isn't it? Everything's dirty, it's noisy, it's smelly, everyone's tired, and you've still got to attack at 110%. Look at this, he's just trying to break into the aerodynamic draft from the Super Cheap Autos Ford. He's got him in his gun sights, and he's still got a few laps to do it too. Look at this battle here. This is Ellery and Richards fighting over 3rd, the last position on the podium. The Bob Jane T-Marts 1000 for 2003. Boy, this Castrol Commodore's got some speed. He is really closing in on the back of the Super Cheap Ford.
Stephen Richards Not only a two-time winner here, but makes regular appearances on the podium. Last year he was second. Right now,
lap 157, Steve. You're hanging tough, mate. You're hanging tough. It's all just tenths plus or minus, so just go as flat out as you can from here.
He's got fractions.
Stephen Richards made a 10th on him that lap.
Very calm voice. Man, Wally Walburn.
The fastest man in the trio was Jim Richards. He did a 9.4, Stevie a 9.5, and Ellery a 9.6.
So Ian Walburn, who is team manager, chief engineer of the Super Cheap Autos team, just talking his driver through, trying to keep him calm, encouraging him every step of the way. And he's got a hell of a job here. He's got his mirrors full of this Castrol Commodore.
He's going to be under pressure in a tick, isn't he?
He really is. Look at how quickly Richo's managed to close that gap.
Luke Youlden held on under pressure circumstances at Sandown. Now it's Stephen Ellery's turn.
Ellery's going to dig deep here. 52.55 for Ellery. Richo 52.50.
It's 190 k's across the apex of that turn there at McPhillamy. Back to 220 here on the brakes as they slither down through the S. It's initially 165 k's and the speed comes off and off and off and off.
This is a real knock 'em down, drag 'em out sort of fight, isn't it? Look at the body on Ellery's car and the body language. See it slide on the approach to the elbow.
That cost him.
He's used up a lot of the rubber on this car. I don't think he's got much left. That car has been stepping out on a few corners. He's really using up everything it's got and then some.
The break down the bottom here is amazing. That fast right-hander through the chase is one of the fastest, if not the fastest corner in world road racing. And then they're on the brakes for 4.5 seconds. They wipe off 175 kilometres an hour, and here comes Richo. 100 k's across the face of that corner, accelerating again. By the time they get back down the bottom, it's back to 225 k's, and these guys will throw everything at it in the dying laps.
Ellery's got to keep a cool head here. He's almost home. He's done a brilliant job. Responded to this challenge from the Castrol Commodore.
9.9 Ellery, 9.8 Stevie Richards, 9.4 Jimmy Richards. So Jim's getting closer.
Amazing speed, 158 full laps completed, and they're still in the 209s.
6.8 seconds first to second. That's what the margin looks like between Murphy and Craig Lowndes, and Lowndes has taken a fraction of time away from him. But it's not a serious impression, but it is a bit of ground.
It's tenths and hundredths at this end of the day. Murphy's got a comfortable cushion there, but Lowndes is attacking with everything he's got, as is Stephen Ellery, as is Stephen Richards. This podium, they can almost taste the champagne.
Just imagine the nerves. Just imagine the nerves for somebody like Glenn Seaton sitting back in the garage in his 20th year, knowing that a slip-up by Greg Murphy will put his teammate Craig Lowndes into position 1. But Murph and his partner Rick Kelly have showed no signs of slipping up all weekend.
Look at the speed that Richo's got across the corner face at McPhillamy. This is the leader. And the other thing that Stephen's going to have to contend with, and this would be an unusual puzzle from a race driver, is having your father starting to make manoeuvres on you to try and take you out of position in the late stages of the most important race of the year.
Just thinking about the Richards versus Richards situation, father versus son. It's all happening here as it unfolds. Murphy, 6.8 seconds, the gap over Lowndes. Ellery fighting hard, but the way the rear of that Super Cheap Autos Ford's dancing around on some of these corners, you really are biting your nails now.
On the split times, Marco, I can tell you as Murph's dad looks on, that Craig Lowndes is getting within 0.2 of a second. When there's only 3 laps to go, it's not going to etch too deep into Greg Murphy's overall time.
Rick Kelly watching on there alongside the main data man, Eric Pender. Kmart team have done an absolutely brilliant job with this car. They really have done a number on this.
So the difference was 6.8 seconds last time around. It's 6.5 seconds now.
Look at this attack by Jim Richards.
Jimmy goes up against his son Stephen. This is for position, and they get together on turn 1.
That kind of answers that question. I don't think there's any love lost there. Get out of the way, kid.
See Jimmy lock up the rear brakes coming into the turn. He got off, but they collided. Son Stephen takes over the position.
Isn't that awesome? 2 hardcore racers just having a huge go.
How about Richo? Isn't he extraordinary? A bloke in his mid-50s. He's got a ticker like Farlap. He will go for any gap, still as hard as they come.
He's a lunatic, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He loves it.
Drives like a 17-year-old. All the enthusiasm and bravado in the world. Let's look at this again.
You can just feel it brewing and brewing and brewing. You reckon they know that it's father versus son? At this stage, it's just 11 versus 2. Oh, tagged. Could have been a whole lot worse, but Stephen ended up getting his position back. Oh, this is a sad sight for Greg Ritter and Marcus Marshall, who've been up as high as 6th. They were in the top 10 when this has happened, and now they're pulling out.
Just at the moment, you can feel the here in the Kmart pit bunker. We saw Kevin Murphy, Greg's dad, having a bit of a laugh before. That's the first time anyone's really smiled in here for a good few laps now. Hardly any discussion going on. Everyone very quiet, just focused on their job, and you can feel this sense of anticipation down here. Quiet anticipation.
Rusty, they've been there before, haven't they? Last year, that famous 5 minutes when Murph and these guys were in position to take this race. A lot of the drivers will tell you that along the 161-lap course of this event, there comes a time when you have to snatch it, and it either slides by or stays in your grasp. Murphy's done it before twice. He's got 6.2 kilometres left to go to make it 3. And put Rick Kelly up into the record books as the youngest ever winner at Mount Panorama.
And closes the gap substantially in the points table. Murphy to Ambrose narrows right down.
An extraordinary weekend of pace from the Kmart Commodore. Quickest throughout the first practice sessions.
Lowndes has got pace at the end of the day. 9.5 versus 9.8 for Murphy. It's down to 6.2 seconds, but it won't be enough. And by this stage, all Murphy wants to do is get home. He doesn't want to know about lap records.
They qualified first. Murphy set that amazing, head-shaking, mountain-rattling time in the shootout at 2:06.85. And listen to the Holden fans roar across the top of the mountain, because Greg Murphy is steering the Kmart Commodore to Holden's 5th consecutive victory at the mountain, a record for any manufacturer. Through the dipper he goes. Nervous times. Around Forest Elbow, the cheers go up again, and down Conrod Straight. Greg Murphy, who started from pole position, the Kiwi, is about to make amends with the mountain. And when you've got this kind of gap, halfway down Conrod Straight, second place is a long way back, 6 seconds in fact. You've got to say that this is the most fun you can have on 4 wheels in Australian touring car racing. Around the final turn, and along with Rick Kelly for 2003, Greg Murphy and the Kmart team are the champions at Bathurst. Craig Lowndes and Glenn Seaton, second position. Stephen Ellery, congratulations to car 31 and Luke Youlden make up our podium. We take our hat off to Stephen and Jim Richards in 4th and 5th. You got to say that yesterday was probably one of the highlights of Greg Murphy's career with that pole lap. Today, I reckon...
As you're driving in, just drive over all the shit, pick up as much stones and weight and crap as you can.
Topped it off.
He wants to make the minimum weight.
Greg Rust.
Hey, Rick Kelly, you just won Bathurst. How does that feel?
I know, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's a fantastic job by the team. We certainly showed that we're the best team out there this weekend. Greg's led the timesheets all weekend. It's fantastic stuff.
How were those stints for you during the course of the day? Was there a lot of pressure on? How did it feel?
There certainly was. In the second one, I really had to pull my finger out and do the best job I possibly could out there and pull out some time, so it was a fantastic race.
The youngest driver to win at Bathurst. When will this sink in, do you think?
I know, probably not for quite a while. I really hope, you know, we can win it in the future. It's been an outstanding day. A little bit disappointed with what happened to Todd and Mark. I really wanted to stand up on the podium with my brother Todd and definitely Mark, but yeah, very disappointed with what happened there.
An outstanding week. Well done, Rick. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Glenn Seaton, your 20th time at the mountain, you must be ecstatic.
I am very happy. Like to come here with a brand new team of FPR has been sensational, and Craig did a brilliant job today. I've got to say he's done a great to get as a result we got, and we've got to come back again and try again to try and get that number one. But I'm really happy with second. That's fantastic.
They do say there's always next year, but this year has been a real struggle for you. But really, I mean, at this point in time, it must have almost been unexpected to be where you are now.
Well, you probably got to say a brand new team and the effort that they've gone through to build 3 brand new BAs and then to finish second at Bathurst for their first year is a sensational effort. And I've got to say, it's great to be a part of it. Fantastic to be a part of it.
What now, mate? You go back. There is more races left for the season. You've got to focus on that as well.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Naturally, my car got quite heavily damaged today, so naturally we've got to go back and fix that before Indy. So there's still a bit of work to do, but just need to get on and make the cars a little bit better, which we've got some things coming along, the new engines and things like that. So next year, look out.
That's great. Congratulations to you and Craig.
Thank you. Thanks, Grant.
Great scenes down in Scrutineering, where Greg Murphy has just received a warm and hearty congratulations from Craig Lowndes. Lowndes and Seaton finished second. Seaton's been second before back in '87. Robbie Crawford, the team boss down at Kmart, is with Rusty.
Rob, last year you were making headlines for all the wrong reasons. They're the right ones in 2003. How does that feel?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. We had to make amends from last year. It was our mistake. And this year we put it all right again, and Greg and Rick drove an absolutely fantastic race. The thing was quickest just about every session, and the guys have done a fantastic job here and at home. So it's absolutely fantastic.
What transpired between Sandown and here? You came here with a car. When you rolled it off the transporter, it was just in the zone. So was the team, so were the drivers.
Yeah, I think we had a day's testing, which is a bit unusual for us. So, you know, we've had 2 days testing and it's worked really well. And, I mean, you know, the drivers have driven fantastic and the pit stops were good. It's all just come together.
Hey, Rob, head to the podium. It's champagne time, mate.
Oh, fantastic. And a few green ones, I reckon, too.
Well done.
Cheers.
Yep, Robbie Crawford and Kmart, absolutely ecstatic. And by doing that, Greg Murphy claims his 3rd Bathurst title. Did it in '96 with Lowndes, in '99 with Richards, and now in 2003 with Rick Kelly. Murphy joins Dick Johnson as on the 3 times winners list. Lowndes and Seaton a podium finish. Ellery and Yulden make it a Ford 2-3. Stephen Richards and Larry Perkins 4th. Jim Richards and Tony Longhurst in 5th. Ambrose and Ingle ended up 6th. Radicic and Rydell 7th. And Mark Scaife and Todd Kelly, when in position 2, had to come in and stick their door together, ended up in 8th. Down through to 10th is where you find Bradley Jones and John Bow. Then car 45, Magnus and Manassian. Wilson and Brabham in 12th. Johnson and Luff in 13th. Dumbrell and Mazera 14th. 6 laps behind. Miller and Searle 15th. David Thexton and Stephen Voigt in 16th position.
And out of 17, it'll end up being Baird and Porter. Look at the laps down here. Johnson and Wade, 18. Tander and Whincup. So much promise today, and a lap record, but 19. McConville and Lay. Owen and Skyfleet. Richards and Wills. It was a shocker for team dynamic. And then after position 23, the rest of them were a DNF. Look at the big names that rattle through here. Canto, we saw that spectacular engine failure. Larkham, Bernard, in the wall a couple of times. Fernandez and Russell. Tratton, Stokel. The Bates brothers were in the wars. Bridie was in the wars. What about some of that stuff that happened up at the top of the mountain early in the day?
Larry Perkins and Stephen Richards held on for 4th position, and Grant is with LP.
Congratulations. You have to say that was an extraordinary performance by the team, all members.
Well, it certainly was a very good team effort to get the car back to being a top-class car. It was an excellent effort by the team, and that last 65 laps Richo drove, he drove his heart out, and he just had too big a gap to narrow down. But no, everyone did a fantastic job.
It was getting very, very close, and it almost came unstuck there when his dad tried to slip up the inside. That must have been exciting.
We'll have to have a word with that old man, I think, you know. like he's not supposed to be going like that, you know. Yeah. But no, it was a great race, and you know, from where the car sat, you know, this time yesterday, to have such a strong car at the finish, tremendous credit to the team, every single one of them. And you know, Richu, as I said, he just drove his heart out. His lap times were tremendous in that last 60 laps, but I didn't keep my own end up as high as I would have liked, and it was just too big a deficit.
Yeah, it really was a case of just chipping away as the day went on, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and you know, I just didn't feel as comfortable in the car as I needed to pull in good lap times, and you know, once the lead brake got away, it was up, you know, near a minute. Richo had to peg that back. It was a big effort.
Larry, congratulations. It does take a team, and all members performed extraordinarily well, and we look forward to seeing you around again.
Thanks very much.
Now, Larry Perkins, he's experienced all the highs, all the lows, and back up to one step off the podium, which is now gathering momentum. And what about the championship? What does all that do after 10 rounds? Marcus Ambrose stays on top. Greg Murphy, courtesy of 192 points, now moves up to second position. Mark Scape has dropped down to fourth. And Russell Ingles slots into third position. And Rick Kelly, who was 10th, now collects 192 as well. So the championship is still well and truly alive. We've got 3 more rounds to go in the V8 Supercar Championship for 2003. What a day. What a win for Murphy and Kelly. We'll be back with the podium on this massive day of motorsport on Network 10 right after this.
Is flowing down pit lane. The catchment area is in front of the most coveted podium in Australian motorsport. And in a way it is fitting, given the speed, the exceptional speed of the car all weekend. But Greg Murphy and Rick Kelly should be on top of it. Mark Osler.
Well, fantastic scenes here. How about a big cheer for the sponsor of this fantastic race? One of the true Bathurst legends, Bob Jane. And his son, Rodney. Fantastic scenes here. Ford tried very hard. They try hard every year, but they haven't been able to break Holden, stranglehold. How about that? 5 Holden wins in a row. Unbelievable. Right. It's time to get into introducing our winners. And it's been a fantastic effort, a really hard grind this year. How about a big round of applause? They've done it again. They got on the podium at Sandown. They've done it again at Bathurst. A big round of applause for Stephen Ellery and Luke Gilden. Just take the trophies from Rodney Jane. Hold the silverware up high, Stevie. You've done a brilliant job. Mate, that was a really hard grind toward the end there the whole day, but the speed of that car at Sandown and now at Bathurst, you're a very deserving podium sitter.
Oh, look, I can't believe it. Credit's got to go to these guys down here in the Super Cheap Auto Racing team. Absolutely fantastic job, guys. The car was faultless all day. It got faster and faster as it went on. My sponsors, Super Cheap Auto, Castrol, Ford, my family, you know, this is what it's all about. Thank you.
Well, let's get Luke Gilden in. Luke, fantastic drive. You really have been thrust into the limelight this year in a full level 1 car, but you really have done a tremendous job on the podium at Sandown, and you're backed up here at Bathurst. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Tell you what, I can get used to this. But before I thank Super Cheap and the guys, I'd like to say a special thanks to the two guys that got me here. That's my dad, Kent, and Ian Dowsett, who's just a great man who's got me here where I am today. So Super Cheap car was awesome today, and yeah, like Steve said, special thanks to these guys down here. It was an awesome car.
Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Third place at Bathurst is a great achievement, and they've done it again. Well, I said Ford have been trying hard. They didn't quite get close enough today, But for a first-up effort for a brand-new race team, I think you'd have to agree this is an outstanding effort. Two of the favourites from Mount Panorama. Give them a big welcome, Craig Lowndes and Glenn Seaton. Take the silverware, boys, from Rodney Jane. After you've handed out your caps, there's the silverware. Lounsey, I don't think anyone would have put too much money on you blokes being on the podium earlier this weekend, but you really came through when you needed to. Fantastic drive.
Well, it was, really Glenn and I really just concentrated on making sure the car was going to be a good race car. We were lucky enough to get in the top 10 and really qualified up. But all the boys, all our sponsors, look, it's a tremendous job. Just sorry for Glenn, we just couldn't get that dream. But next year we go one better.
Outstanding performance, Glenn. Mate, I know you really want to win this one, but I tell you what, a podium at Mount Panorama isn't too shabby. And as I said, a first-up effort for FPR, I think that's outstanding.
Yeah, it's a fantastic effort by FPR for a team that's come along brand new this year, and to come along and finish second at their first Bathurst is fantastic. Thanks to all the guys who put so much effort in this year to build this team. And this is second, and there's nothing wrong with second, I've got to say. It's a fantastic effort. And thanks to my mate here, who did a brilliant job today. And I'd love to team up with him again next year to try and win it.
I just want to say hello to my little man back home. He's been watching it with my brother and my mum. So, look, thank you, and thank you, everyone. Thank you to Bob J for sponsoring the event, and obviously, congratulations to Murph and Rick. The little buggers, I think, taken my youngest ever victory around here, so congratulations to them too.
Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Glenn Seaton and Craig Lowndes second in the great race. But I know what you're waiting for. 5 straight wins for Holden at Mount Panorama. It's a pretty extraordinary record. They've dominated the weekend and they've taken it right through to the checkered flag. Put your hands together for the great race winners, Greg Murphy and Rick Kelly. Take the trophy there from Bob Jane, sponsor of the race. Bob. And Greg, I want you to hold that trophy up high for the fans. Greg Murphy. You know, Murph, there's an old saying about Mount Panorama, guys that get on pole position don't tend to win, but you didn't follow that rule today. You have dominated this whole weekend.
Can't believe it. I just can't believe this weekend what's happened. Hi to Monique and Ryan at home. Love you lots. I'll see you tomorrow. To the team, those guys, done a great job. Awesome. I don't know what to say. The sponsors, everybody, and my little youngest ever winner, Rick Kelly.
Let's get Rick in. This is amazing. This is history on the mountain, Rick. You have just taken over Craig Lowndes' mantle as the youngest ever winner of the Bathurst 1000. How about that? 20 years of age. Rick, what can I say? That is the most outstanding result for one so young.
It's been an outstanding weekend. Kmart Racing have just topped the timesheets all weekend. I'd just like to thank Kmart Racing, Holden and Cashel. It's been a fantastic weekend, and Greg and the team have done a fantastic job. It's a perfect weekend, really. Just a little bit disappointed with the decision on Scaife and Keller and my brother Todd. They wish they were up here with me.
5 straight wins for Holden. And
Holden number 1.
And these are the men that have done it. A big round of applause for Greg Murphy and Rick Kelly, the winners of the Bob Jane T-Marts 1000. Now it's time to spray the champagne.
As we see Rick and Greg celebrate and spray a little champagne here. Of course, Ford put up a wonderful fight. They filled up the rest of the podium. And it was a close battle all weekend. But this is the position that counts. Hang on, Rick's 20. Oh, yeah, he's old enough to be doing that. He looks about 15, with the greatest respect. 8 cars on the lead lap at the end. Tremendous battle. Incidentally, a couple of other figures that might interest you. 159,000 people here across 4 days, which is only a few thousand shy of last year's record. And also in the Ford versus Holden SMS competition, we had over 1 million messages sent, which I'm told makes the Bathurst 1000 telecast the biggest interactive broadcast event in Australian history. Now make sure you hang out with us, because if you're involved in that, you can find out if you won your $5,000 cash from Logica CMG at the end of our Formula One Grand Prix telecast. We will announce the winner. It'll be one of many because, as I said, over 1 million messages. That's extraordinary. Our thanks to the international viewers from all over the world who've joined us for this telecast. We'll be back, and we hope you will be too, for more in 2003. This championship, this race promises so much. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll leave the Bob Jane T-Marts 1000 for now.